away we go. All righty. Well, welcome to another episode of the Franchise Academy. I am Tom Scarta. I'm a franchise consultant, and I match people with opportunities based on skills, personality, goals, and kind of like the eHarmony of business is what I like to call it. So I am out actually nationwide for the past 14 years, believe it or not, helping people figure out what franchise is for them. Franchising is not for everybody. And I really like people to know kind of the ins and outs of really what it takes, not only financially, because everybody's always worried about how much money do I need, how much money can I make. At the end of the day, it's really a mental thing. You've got to be prepared mentally to run a business. It's way different than having a job, but so much more satisfying as I've done both. So the episode today is with two brothers that own a business called Brothers Who Clean. Let me get it right. Hang on a second. So, the Brothers That Just Do Gutters. So Ken and Ryan, welcome to the Franchise Academy.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, this is so cool. So you guys started in Hudson Valley, New York. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And so how long have you been franchising?
Since 2015.
All right. Definitely. Awesome. So I know both of you guys have college degrees. You know, you were going the normal route, go to school, get a job. What happened?
Wow. That's a great question. What happened was when I was a teacher, and while I was doing my teaching career, the whole go to school, get a good job, get good grades, and get your career for your life. Way I knew a guy named Alex who was in the gutter business, and he kept on asking me to come and work for him. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. My dad did construction, and I did that all growing up with him, and I'm definitely not going back into that. So I really didn't even have a sense of what the gutter business was all about at that point in time. I just lumped it into what I experienced growing up as a kid with my father, who was self-employed. And I decided to go and work for him that summer. He was persistent. And so I said, all right, well, you know what? I have nothing going on. I have off for the summer and I need to work. So teachers don't make a heck of a lot of money when they first start out. So I went to work for Alex, and I really enjoyed the business. I really enjoyed the work, and he just had a way of running his business in a way that everything had its place in its truck. It was everything that I always pictured my dad should have when I was growing up, and organized, and everything had its place, and it was efficient. And I just really am that type of person to begin with anyway, highly organized and disciplined in that way. So when I saw that and saw the work, and I just really enjoyed it so much that I took my degree and I threw it in the gutter, and I didn't go back to my job that fall. So that was kind of how I got introduced to the business. And that was it. That was history.
So let me just clarify for those who don't know, like there's a story about you have a franchisee who is from Africa, and he didn't even know what a gutter is. So explain what a gutter is for those who don't realize.
Well, a gutter is basically a piece of metal that's extruded out of a machine, out of a back of a truck. And then you take that piece and you custom fit it to the edge of the roof line where the water dumps off of the roof, and it catches the water, goes down the downspout, and then the downspout takes it away from the house. So pretty much a gutter is there to protect and take all the water that you don't want near your house to get it away from the house.
Okay. Very good definition. I don't know if I could have said it as well as that. That's great. Thanks. So, so you saw a business opportunity. Why is cleaning gutters a business opportunity? Where's the market? What's the market?
Ryan, why don't you answer that one?
All right. So, I mean, when Ken first started, it was basically, there was no vision for this gigantic franchise or building this empire or anything like that. He just really enjoyed the work, loved going to a different job every day. And basically, the guy that started him in business told him that this is the only business, or this is a business that's recession proof. At the time, he went through 1 or 2 recessions, and even in a recession, people bought gutters because it's a very inexpensive upgrade to the house or maintenance to a house that needs to be done. So for $800 to $1,500, you're protecting your foundation, your house, getting water in it. So that was really cool. It's a really good business because installing gutters and guards and cleaning gutters, it gives you a few different things. When you do gutters and guards, you basically get your biggest sale on a homeowner, but then you also have residual accounts that, they need it 2, 3, 4 times a year, or townhouse complexes that need it once or twice. So you're building both sides of the business, people that continue to use you year after year, and the one-ups that, you do gutters and guards and they should be good for 20 years or so. So it's a great business as far as the work, doing it, the market for it. What really hardly anybody figures out in most businesses is how to scale it. And that's kind of where Ken and I spent the majority of, this is since 1999. We didn't just come up with an idea and a clever name and say, we should franchise this. We've been working our tails off on how to systematize this business and make it something that, like you said earlier, that we can kind of not just be the self-employed where we're doing everything, but how do you become a business owner in the gutter industry? It's been awesome.
It's unbelievable, and I love it because it's simplistic. You're not involved with technology, and I love the idea that it is a great thing to have on a home. You need to have it, and then that whole residual thing. So you have a few different streams of income on this franchise, right?
Yeah, correct.
So you had talked about the fact that you have a lot of couples, husband and wives, that actually own this business. Why do you think couples are drawn to this?
That's a great question. I think they just get involved. They're about to change their entire path, and a lot of times the husbands and the wives get involved a little bit more passively, but then like pretty much immediately they're very involved. And I just think because when you buy a franchise, it becomes your new life. And I think it just makes so much sense for the teams to work together. We've recently just had somebody who's the wife was pursuing a nursing degree, and she's like, you know what? I'm going to put that on hold. And they just see, and it's not like she's putting her future and dreams on hold for her husband or his dreams. She just loves it, and she sees what's happening and wants to be part of it. And it's really cool to see that dynamic, especially when it works. Not all husbands and wives should work together.
Right.
Just going to say that. But we've actually become very good at coaching. There's a separate line of coaching that goes to those husband and wife teams that we talk about having here are the boundaries, here are the job descriptions. One of our franchisees basically says we have to stay in our lane. And especially in a husband-wife team, you can step over it. Where's this? So we've really been good at coaching through that to help them through those hiccups that can happen. And I'm not 100% why, but sure why, but it's really been cool.
Yeah, no, it is a great thing. My wife and I did the same thing when we chose to buy a smoothie franchise back in 2000. It was the same kind of deal. She kept her job. She was a New York City police officer. Wow. And she had to, stay in it till that magic pension number came in 2007. But we worked together, and so she would, days off, nights, or whatever it was. And what we learned is that it was really difficult to work together for us. And now we actually do. She's now a stand-up comedian and an actress and a public speaker. And so we do a program for franchise companies and marketing companies, like direct marketing companies, called "How to Work with Your Spouse Without Going to Jail."
I love it. We need that.
Yeah, it's a good thing, and it's and so we're not going to get into it here, but there's certain things that you need in your business if you're working with a spouse or a partner. It doesn't have to be a spouse, but if it's two partners that got together and like, hey, we're going to do this together, there's certain things that need to be done in order to have it work synergistically. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of banging of heads, and it usually ends pretty messy. So, offline, we'll talk more about that.
That's awesome. Love it.
So you guys are based in New York, and you have franchises, all the way down to Florida. What's a great market that you're looking to get into right now?
Well, we're opening up in South Dallas, Texas. November 4th is our grand opening.
Woohoo!
And we also opened up in San Antonio market in January of this year. So we're moving west. So it's exciting.
That's
we would
fantastic.
definitely. Oh, sorry, but we would definitely love to kind of surround the Hudson Valley location. It just didn't work out that way. I know the grand idea is when you franchise is to put the first couple right next door, be really close. But we would love, to get Albany and Hartford, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Long Island. Those are really awesome territories. Any of the major cities are fantastic. So we've kind of grown the way we've grown. It hasn't, we've tried to steer that ship, but it kind of steers itself with people that just find us.
Yeah, it's organic, and that's okay as long as you can support those franchise owners.
Yes.
In Texas,
and we can support franchise owners anywhere in the United States. So we're not. What's interesting about our brand and the support and the team that we have in-house is probably not typical of most emerging brands, if you will, for the support and the things that we have and the team that our franchisees have access to, and our system of support ongoing for the life of their business. I find is a little bit different than other opportunities. So we can go anywhere in the country. We're ready to go.
So what's different in your opinion compared to other emerging brands?
Well, other emerging brands, it seems that what Ryan said earlier, a lot of them have a catchy name or a catchy widget or something that attracts somebody to it, but they haven't spent over a decade like Ryan and I have developing systems and preparing and making sure that we have a really solid foundation in marketing and having a system for that, having a system for our call center and handling calls that come in for franchisees instead of them having to handle all that. So there's a lot of things that we've taken off the franchisees' plate that we do in-house to really help them to focus on what we feel is the most important thing, is sales and operations. Because, when you're self-employed and you're wearing all those hats, it's really hard to scale a business, like Ryan was saying earlier. And in order to scale a business, that's why you're buying a franchise, is because the franchisor has not just figured out a way of doing things and making money, but has a system of support that's not something that they just hand you in an operations manual, but it's something that goes on for the life of your business. And taking that to the next level, I feel what differentiates us is we're in contact. We have boot camp calls every month. We have boot camp call for our salespeople throughout our whole franchise. We have a field operations call for all the guys who are working in the field and the franchisees to be on once a month. And we have a back office admin call once a month for all the back office admins. So they're all learning stuff. And that's the art and science of creating a long-lasting organization, is a learning organization. Right. And having that coaching and support that they need to be able to be successful. And I think that really differentiates us from a lot of other brands.
Yeah, spot on. You're so right. And one thing that I love that you said is that, so a lot of people will look at something like this business and say, why do I need a franchise for that? And the reason why is there's really a small barrier to entry on most franchises, but there's a large barrier to scalability.
Right.
So anybody can open up a business and they kind of really bought themselves a job. But if you really want to be a business owner, that's a different mentality and a different scope. And most people don't know how to do it. And that's why most businesses that start up as a mom and pop go out of business in the first year anyway.
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting you bring that up. I was just talking to Nathan, who owns the San Antonio franchise, and he was 12 years in the gutter business. You
Mm.
know, he converted his gutter business to a brother's that just do gutters, and before that, he was in roofing. And having a casual conversation, I'm checking in, seeing how everything's going, and he basically said that people, when he was thinking about doing this, everyone basically said, well, why don't you just do it yourself? Like, why don't you scale it? And he was like, well, I've been doing it for 12 years. I've tried to scale. I'm looking at this, and he was watching our videos, and he basically, when he saw that there's two brothers that scaled this gutter business, he goes, holy cow, it's possible. And he basically said he's 1 year, not even 1 year in. I think they launched in February or March, and he basically said he would do it all over again. And he's been able to grow his business. And I know we can't talk numbers and things like that, but he is way exceeded what he used to do by himself as an owner operator in his first year. And it was really cool to hear, because there is that option. But when he was saying the money that it costs to buy into your franchise versus how much I would have to pay to get, national branding, all the systems in place, all the people in place, it just did not even come close. And his words were, I would do it all over again.
Well, I think, my opinion, and with a great franchise, like you guys are a great franchise, you have all the support, you have the systems figured out. If you find a great franchise, the franchise fee and the royalties that you're paying are just tuition. It's just plainly tuition to ramp up and break even quick and make a profit much quicker than you can, just because you don't have the experience. And that's why you plug into a franchise. So perfect franchisee for you guys. Are you looking for the roofer and the construction guy? Who's good for you guys?
Well, I would start out saying that somebody who's hungry and passionate about business is really, the starting point of what we're looking for, because we have people from all aspects of life and expertise in our franchise system. We have veterans. We have people who have owned businesses, or own businesses. We have guys that have converted, which is great. Certainly a conversion is great because they have a great knowledge of the products in the gutter industry. So, but basically I would say that hunger and passion really, if somebody has hunger and passion for business, there's nothing that's going to stop them from being successful. And, yeah, we happen to do gutters, but really this is just a vehicle for somebody that is hungry and passionate about business. And it's really the culture that we have created. Yeah, we do gutters and that's how we drive revenue, but it's a lot more than that.
So Ken Parsons, you actually started this whole thing and then Ryan joined you, right?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
All right. So Ken, this is kind of a tongue-in-cheek question, and it's not a trick question, but do you need to have passion about gutters? Is that what you mean by passion?
Well, I think so, a little bit, but I think it's more than just gutters. It's having a passion for, you know, a passion for business and wanting to be a business owner and doing that. And even if you haven't ever owned a business before, just having that, and that's one of the things that I think was a major turning point for me early on was, why am I doing this? And what is it that I want to get out of it? And that's really important. When somebody's looking at a business, you need to look at it and say, what is it that I want and why do I want to do this? Because defining that is going to help you to stay on task and focused on the pathway that you want to take for success. And there's nothing really, whether it's gutters or anything else, that you put your mind to do that you can't achieve. And that's what Ryan and I have learned along the way, is that there's lots of other people that we learn from through books, through seminars, through just educating ourselves. And when you partner up with somebody that has a culture of learning, and that's what we really have created here at Brothers Gutters. We like to call it Brothers University. So, and I guess that's the teacher in me, right? I'm still teaching, even though I haven't taught in 20 years in a classroom. But teaching business is what Ryan and I are really passionate about. And Ryan and I have been builders since day one. I mean, from when we were little kids, building sand castles and all kinds of, things when we were kids. We always did it together, and we just always have been builders, and we just love it. So partnering up with people like that are passionate about building a business, this is the perfect place for them.
Exactly. So you actually kind of said what I wanted you to say, because I part of what I do is just tell people, we always hear the phrase, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And it's true if you're working a job, but you don't have to love gutters in order to be really successful in the gutter business. You could be a vegetarian and own a McDonald's, as long as you love the business of business. And so Correct. It's important to make that distinction. You don't have to be passionate. So many people come to me like, oh, I love baking. I want to get into like some kind of bakery franchise. And it's like, if you love baking, let's find you something that's going to give you all the time and the money so you could bake to your heart's content. But if you're trying to pay your mortgage selling pies and pastry, it's going to be a real pain in the butt after 6 months. You're going to hate it.
Yeah.
That's like my number one philosophy, I think, as I'm trying to myself teach people about franchising. It's important. So I love the fact that you said you guys do a lot of, seminars and books. So great question. What's one or two of your favorite books that you would recommend to somebody in business right now?
That's a good one. I have such a hard time recommending books. Ken's like a doctor for books. If you tell him what you're going through, he has a book to prescribe. If you want some leadership, he'll give you a prescription for that with a book. To kind of backtrack, one of the biggest books that was pivotal in my life, was The E-Myth. Gary Berger, I believe, is the author, and it's all about systematizing your business. And it was at a time that Ken and I always had great instincts. Like we were building something bigger than us probably from the beginning. But when I read that, it just confirmed, like, you're on the right path. You're so close. It's not the people that are failing. It's your systems that are failing. And we, from probably 2002 till franchising, we made systems for every little problem we had, whether it was a client saying, oh, I didn't know your guys just started banging off gutters on my house. Nobody even told me. We were like, oh, well, we should call on the way, like stupid stuff like that. We systematized everything. So as far as if you're looking to, organize your business and start to really build something that can actually scale without you at some point, I love that book as a starting point for business owners to start building a foundation of their business.
Well said. Very well said. The E-Myth, and it's E-Myth Revisited. Michael Gerber, I think, is the author, and just really a foundation for any franchise. So I love that. Ken, I've got to ask you, what do you recommend?
What are you going through? He'll give you a prescription.
There's so many great books out there. But you know what I always recommend to people when I'm talking with a potential franchisee, especially somebody, I guess this would be somebody that is a career and transition type person, which a lot of us get a lot of leads for career and transition people. One of the most pivotal aha moments for me was when I read Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow Quadrant, and having actually been employed for that part of, most of my life at that point, and then jumping into the self-employed quadrant, it really opened my eyes, and it was like, aha, what? And nothing wrong with being employed and nothing wrong with being self-employed. It's just a matter of, for me, it was, aha, this is what I really want. I want to be in the business quadrant. I want to be on that side. And that really helped me to focus on the information that I took in from that point on to be able to achieve that in my career. So really, for somebody who's going through a turning point, that really just helps define how people make money, and what is it that you are comfortable with? If you're okay with trading time for money, and that's how you want to go, great. You want to just report and clock into a job and not have to worry about everything and make a paycheck, or if you want to wear all the hats and be the guy, I mean, there's a place for everybody. But that really helped me to define who it is that I was really, meant to be, and what was really in my heart, my mind. It really helped define that for me. So
Dude, you're speaking my language there. So yeah, Robert Kiyosaki, I mean, all of his books, I mean, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the reason we're sitting here today.
Right.
I remember vividly sitting on the Long Island Railroad going to work, reading that book and saying to myself, damn, I am getting out of this thing. I knew nothing about business. And so I knew I wanted to be a business owner. And after reading books and going to seminars, I realized that a franchise is a business with training wheels. That's what I needed. And so those training wheels are all the systems that you guys have put in place in your business. So that is really a phenomenal thing.
Yeah. And the business owner test, which kind of really hit us hard, and we proved it was possible, is that if your business can last without you, if I went on vacation for 3 to 6 months and I come back and it's relatively the same, I'm a business owner. And that's our model. We've had to turn away guys that I love being outside and I want to use my hands and I want to do gutters and it's a cool franchise. And we've had to turn them away because that's not what we're selling. We're selling the opportunity to have a business that runs without you, not a job. We're not necessarily interested in selling anybody a job. Our business model is to get you across the quadrants and over into the business owner quadrant. That is our business model.
Yeah. Wow. And there's 3 phases to that I've seen in my career of doing this for the last 20 years. In most businesses, you're going to have a startup phase and you're going to have to work really hard. And even if it's a franchise, you're going to have to work really hard because you still have to develop a team that's going to be plugged into those systems that franchisor has created, right? And then once you have that team established and you start having some leaders that are developing leaders without you having to be there as it grows. And that's what allows you. So leadership is huge. And in your personal growth and development is in attracting people, good people to work for your system that you bought into. But it's startup. And then what eventually happens is that business can become semi-passive. I don't care what business it is. It can become semi-passive if you have the right leaders in place running those great systems that franchisor created. And then eventually, the goal is to have a passive income. And I have passive income, and Ryan and I have kept our corporate location purposely as a testimonial, plus many other reasons why we kept our corporate location, but to prove the point that when we went into franchising, that we still have a business that runs without us being there.
Right.
And franchisees can see that. They can come visit it. They can do a meet the team day with our rest of our corporate team that's going to support them for the life of their business. So we didn't franchise off, which a lot of companies, as you know, Tom, franchise off their businesses. And a lot of times when you look deep enough, it's probably because they couldn't handle doing both. And I think that's important. And a big, huge differentiator for the brothers at Just Do Gutters is that we have done that. We've achieved that. And we have other people that we're teaching how to build that kind of a pipeline business for themselves.
Absolutely. That's so cool. And where is your corporate headquarters located?
Poughkeepsie, New York.
Poughkeepsie, New York. Cool. So you're about, I'm going to call it like 80 miles north of Manhattan, straight up as the crow flies, right?
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
I actually don't live in New York anymore. I moved to Tyler, Texas. So
great
there
area.
you go. You have to prove the model definitely works.
Texas is a great state, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff. So what's one myth about your business that you guys would like to bust right here, right now?
Franchising or the gutter business?
Either one, your choice.
I'd say one of the myths of, when it comes to franchising, sometimes people can say, well, being part of a franchise, all the money goes to corporate. I'm afraid that the clients in the area want to shop local. And there's this little weird thing that can sometimes happen. And what we've found is when we start a brothers franchise, it's typically somebody who lives in the area and they're going to employ a back office admin, at least 2 installers, a salesperson. They're impacting the local economy by 5 hires on day one. And most owner operators or local people or mom and pops, as you call them, it's basically one owner. And a lot of the trades too, they're just paying everyone off the books cash. They're just it's them and whoever the helper for hire is. So when we go into an area, it's we're impacting it by 5, and we're helping them grow a multi-million-dollar business that's going to need people. So I love that all that money is getting made and spent locally. So that's definitely one. And the other one I told you about earlier, about the guy who everyone said, well, why don't you just do it yourself? And I've already kind of covered why buying a franchise makes sense.
Yeah, and really great, Ryan. And just, again, it's like everything that I say in my book, Franchise Savvy, it's really, not only are you hiring 5 people, but also they say that you create 5 to 10 jobs that are not directly related to your franchise through suppliers, because now somebody needs to make the materials or build the truck or whatever the franchise uses. So it is an economic engine in that neighborhood and a tax base for the county, for the city, and so and the people that as you were getting at, the fact that there's a misconception that, oh, there's a big conglomerate. But, when you think about like a Subway, everybody knows Subway sandwich shops. The guy that owns Subway essentially lives down the street from you.
Yep.
It's all locally owned and operated. They just chose to get that brand, so they have the systems in place as opposed to starting up, Sal's, sub shop. And so I think that's really an important thing to get out. And I just wrote a blog yesterday, literally, the fact that the International Franchise Association did a survey and found that 70% of Americans have no idea what a franchise is. 70%. They just think that it's this big, large conglomerate. And it's so not. It's really the essence of the American dream. And so you guys are providing an entree to the American dream for those who want to grab it and run with it in your particular concept. So I love that. So Ken, I want to swing over to you for a second. Any myths, franchising or gutter related?
I think gutter related. It's kind of funny, early on when I used to start going and networking and stuff like that, and you're introducing yourself to all these bankers and insurance people, and they're all dressed up in their suits, and I'm showing up with my little gutter hat and t-shirt on, and and they, I'd introduce myself to people, and they would say, hey, what do you do? And I say, well, I do seamless gutters. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. And then they turn around and go talk to somebody else. But so, maybe, because they think that our heads are always in the gutter, and maybe we're not have that much to say or whatever. But we've definitely debunked that myth over the years. And it's been certainly a great journey. And, that's probably one of the myths that I guess I would.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't believe that you can make a living, let alone build an entire business or empire off of
Yeah. I think somebody froze. I don't know if that was me or you there, Ryan, but
when we share. Oh,
you froze, Ryan. Yeah.
Oh, that was the best thing I said all day. That's just all you need to know. No, a lot of the contractors and people that see what we do, they're very they can't believe that just on one niche, gutters, basically the afterthought of construction. We're the last guys on a construction project if you were doing addition, that we could make a living, grow a business, have like 8-10 crews going out every single day. Most people think you have to be a jack of all trades, a remodeler, or window siding, roofing, and for us to be able to, in a niche, scale something so awesome, I think is really just, it blows the minds of people that are in small business, for sure.
Well, that is very well said. So could you guys supply a piece of guiding advice to someone that is thinking about buying a franchise before we tie this all up in a nice bow?
Ken, you're waiting for me, huh?
Go ahead. You're doing so well.
A piece of advice. I mean, what I've been loving is the people that are looking to convert their existing business, that they've banged their head against the wall. They've tried to scale before, and they might have even settled in on, I don't think it's possible in my business. And we see it with landscapers, tree guys, gutter guys, it's possible. You've got to trust it, and you just got to implement. I guess if I can say anything, if you're in business and you're going to seminars and reading books, the biggest difference between where you are and where you can be is just having the guts to implement. That's all it really comes down to. I have people want to take me out for lunch or a beer and pick my brain. And then when I give them my awesome advice, they're like, yeah, I know that. I read that book. And I'm like, well, then just do it. It's amazing what people actually know and what they're just not willing to do. Just implement, and you will get somewhere.
So great. Thank you so much for that pearl of wisdom. And Ken, any parting words of advice, and what's the best way for somebody to find your franchise if they want to buy a franchise?
Cool. Yeah, I would say that, you just keep learning and moving forward. Implementing equals results, and sky's the limit of what anybody can achieve. And most of the stuff has already been done. Most of the stuff, the ideas that we get, and is from other people's minds. And that's what I love about franchising. Franchising is, rising tides raise all ships type of philosophy if it's done properly. And, two brains are better than one. And that's why, I wanted to partner up with Ryan, and I saw the advantage. And I'm a team kind of guy anyway. I thrive I'm not really the greatest at working by myself. So if you're the type of person that likes people and likes teams and working with that kind of a thing, franchising is a great business model for that. And as far as being able to find us, you can look us up at brothersfranchise.com. And I'm also the direct person to franchise development and taking people through the process all the way up till the big decision day. So, my number is 845-705-7276. And you can call me directly, text me, or email me at ken@brothersgutters.com. And that would be great.
Well, that's super. I really appreciate it. And all that information will be on the franchiseacademy.com. So if you're watching this on YouTube, the franchiseacademy.com will have all the information, background, and the stories about Brothers That Do Gutters. So Ken, Ryan, thank you so much for being on the show, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks,
appreciate
Tom.
it very much.
Appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
God bless you. Bye-bye.